Good morning, all. Today I'm going to provide a thematic, critical, and literary analysis of one of August Wilson's best plays ever, The Piano Lesson. The Piano Lesson, written in 1990, is the fourth play in August Wilson's history-based cycle of 10 plays. He wrote a series of 10 plays. These 10 plays, this cycle of plays, portrays the African American experience in the first half of the 20th century. The play is set in the 1930s, the period of the Great Depression, when American economy collapsed. It was a time when people grabbed any chance they could to survive, and cities like Pittsburgh were filled with breadlines, unemployment, and housing shortages. The play also chronicles African Americans' migration from the rural South to the large industrial cities of the North in search of freedom, dignity, and equal economic opportunities. Accordingly, the play has two settings. The first one is the northern setting of Bernice's house. Bernice is the protagonist of this play. The first setting is the house of Bernice, which is located in a black neighborhood in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where the action takes place at the present time. The second setting is in the South, where all the characters in the play have originally come from, and the action is in the past. This southern setting is brought back to life through the narration of past experiences and memories of black characters. The northern setting of Bernice's house, which is lacking in warmth and vigor, liveliness. This setting, the northern setting, pictures the quality of life of those African Americans who have migrated to the north and were cut off from their family roots and history. Up in the north, the life is stark, cold, and lonesome, and they have to endure hard work and poverty. The northern life is contrasted with life in the South, where, despite racial prejudices, African Americans live close to their family roots, close to the struggle and the suffering of the people of the past. But through such hardships, they extract spiritual sustenance. The Piano Lesson, this play, takes place in 1936, in the Hill District, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The plot is centered on how best to preserve a person's past legacy. This is the major theme. How best, or what is the best way to preserve a person's past legacy? Two slave descendants, Bernice and her brother, Boy Willie, argue about a piano which is an inherited family heirloom. While Bernice constantly refuses and denounces her brother's relentless attempts to sell the piano, Boy Willie insists that it must be sold. This piano must be sold in order to secure an amount of money which could be used to buy a piece of land. The climax over the possession of the piano reaches its vertical limit at the moment Bernice is about to shoot her brother. However, the appearance of Satyr's ghost, the deceased white master, to claim the piano, changes the contradictory attitudes of both brother and sister. Boy Willie defends the family heritage and battles with this ghost, the ghost of Satyr. And Bernice conquers her fears of the past and starts playing the piano to help her brother in this fierce fight. Finally, the ghost is exorcised and the household is set free. The ghost goes away. After this fatal confrontation between the ghost and Boy Willie, the ghost of Sarah and Boy Willie, after this confrontation, which ends successfully, Boy Willie decides to leave the piano for his sister on condition that she keeps playing on it. She never abandons this piano. In this play, August Wilson gives us many dramatic devices. He was very successful in using dramatic devices. The first dramatic device we have is the piano itself. In an interview with August Wilson, David Severin once asked him about the source of his inspiration in writing the piano lesson. Wilson answered, "I got the title from a Romare Beadon painting called The Piano Lesson. His painting is actually a piano teacher with a kid." Upon viewing this painting in an art gallery, Wilson told a friend, "This is my next play." The next day, he started composing dialogues for the characters inspired from this painting. The piano is the most important dramatic device Wilson employs to concentrate on his objective in the piano lesson in this play. It is an old piano with people faces carved on the wood, reminiscent of some family members and painful historical events in their lives. This piano poses an urgent question of whether it is acceptable and reasonable for a black man to make use of his heritage for achieving an economic success along with the white man, or, quite the opposite, to preserve the legacy of his ancestors represented in the piano. Wilson raises this question when he states, "The real issue is the piano, the legacy. How are you going to use it?" This is the question as he poses it. For Wilson, the piano stands for the history of African American slavery. This is very important. The piano is a great symbol and device. It symbolizes the history of African American slavery, agony, and fight for freedom. And this is something they need to preserve and be proud of. The lesson of the piano isn't a lesson in how to play the piano, no, but a lesson in what the piano means. The piano means that maintaining Blacks' culture and tradition is the only good plan for self-recognition, to achieve self-recognition. If we examine Bernice's concept of the piano, Bernice, as I told you, the major character in this play, if we examine her concept of the piano, we will find that it is entirely different from that of her brother Boy Willie. They have different concepts regarding this piano. For Bernice, the piano is a constant reminder of her ancestors' long history of enslavement and subordination to the white master. Although it brings pain and torture to her soul, it is the only thing left that keeps her connected spiritually to her racial history. In her mind, the piano is an icon, permanently providing her with something to be proud of and fight for. On the other hand, Boy Willie has a different approach to remembering and honoring one's past. He is so eager to sell the piano so as to buy a piece of land from the descendant of the white master himself, Sarah. He says, "I'm gonna sell it. I own just as much of it as she does." And by this, he refers to his sister. In fact, he admits no sentimental ties with the history of his great-grandfathers and justifies his keen desire of selling the piano with the claim that his ancestors would have done the same if they had been in his shoes, in his position. He believes that the piano is a gift left behind to benefit from it and create a new prosperous state for him. For Boy Willie, selling the piano will keep the memory alive and will continue to celebrate the heritage of the family. He doesn't need a fixed memorial to commemorate that heritage because he keeps that memory alive, but in his own terms. Selling the piano, he believes, will allow him to follow in the footsteps of his forefathers, but with the freedom and dignity they had never been granted. In this way, Boy Willie is more concerned with coping with the present, than with looking back at his southern past. That is why Boy Willie can't withstand Bernice's attempts to stop him thinking about selling the piano. He is so determined to convince her to change her mind about it. He wonders, he asks, what is she gonna do with it? She ain't doing anything but letting it up there in the house and be spoiled. Rot. That piano ain't doing anybody any good. The end of the quote. This kind of justification, justifying the pretext for selling the piano, is received with discontent and disapproval on Bernice's part. She says, I ain't selling that piano. Boy Willie, if that's why you came up here, you can just forget about it. Wيلسون uses the character of Bernice to dramatically stress the significance of the piano as a symbol of the blacks' past history. Boy Willie's intention and determination to sell the piano to a white man, a collector of colored people's musical instrument. Okay? His intention could be seen as a metaphor for assimilation, which is denounced, of course, by August Wيlسون. The piano should be claimed and possessed for everything it stands for. What does it symbolize? What does it stand for? The blood and suffering of the child's family, as well as their strength and spirit. Boy Willie must learn that it is not wise or necessary to get rid of any part of one's heritage. It is better to achieve progress in life by any other means. Fortunately, Wيlsون presents to him the strength and willpower to do so. There is something positive, however, in Boy Willie. He has neither tried to hide from his past nor declared an intention to settle in the North. In addition, he insists on using his family heirloom as a source of strength and empowerment. Unlike Bernice, who observes the same past only as a source of anguish and sufferance, he considers the story of his ancestors as a source of pride. And that is the course of the conflict here in this drama. It is the core dilemma of the play. Bernice and Boy Willie represent two opposite forces who strive to win the battle over the position of the piano. Each is dragging the piano in a different direction. Each has a completely different set of interests and attitudes regarding the family history represented by the piano. While Bernice considers the piano her soul, she says, you can't sell your soul for money. Boy Willie observed the same piano as a mere piece of wood. Nonetheless, though Bernice considered the piano her soul, she strangely enough refuses on multiple occasions, indeed, to play on it. She constantly avoids playing it to escape the burden of the past, which Boy Willie insists on provoking. For Bernice, the piano has become a kind of sacred inheritance. This means that she will not sell the piano, nor will she will use it to remember her history. Moreover, she has neither told her daughter Maritha stories about her heritage, nor given her any reasons to have pride in the family's history. Her unwillingness to play the piano or to make Maritha have pride in her black culture isn't reasonable and refused by August Wilson. This is what he denounces and undermines repeatedly. Wilson urges his black characters not to abandon their legacy because he believes that it is the only chance available for survival and endurance. That is what incites Wilson to wonder, to ask, can we acquire a sense of self-worth by denying one's past? Owning the piano will strengthen the family. Allowing somebody else to own it, like Sarah's ghost, shall weaken them all. Bernice's deceased father, Boy Charles, recognized that fact. That is why he stole the piano from the white master Sarah in the first place, and was consequently murdered for his action. Only at the conclusion of the play, Bernice resorts to the piano to help her overcome the ghost of Sarah, who had obsessed her mind so long and has oppressed her own family for generations. She eventually realizes the powerful force behind embracing one's history, because suddenly she discovered that she alone is incapable of preserving what she had been possessing for years. This happens the moment she witnesses the fearlessness with which her brother wrestles with Sarah's ghost at the end. Her brother's bravery encourages her to join in this symbolic battle. So, she regroups herself, summons up her powers and courage, and starts singing and playing the piano. As a result, the ghost disappears. Wilson suggests that we can conclude that through the image of the piano, that African Americans' survival in the United States depends on holding tight to that spirit, the spirit of the past, and that culture history. He addresses and stimulates, at the same time, stimulates the blacks to recognize the source of strength in each person's family history, as well as in the traditions of African American culture as a whole. Once Jane Campbell, a critic of drama, once said that this interchange of life force by which the departed, the people of the past, give advice to and empower the living, people who are still alive, the living shall in return bring honor to the ancestors. Thank you for your good listening, and see you next time, inshallah.